Hey everyone, and welcome to my first video from Sochi, Russia. I'm here for the FIDE World Cup, not as a player, but as a photographer. And I got here, like 3 days ago, still recovering from jet lag. Yesterday, I woke up at 2 a.m., fell asleep around like 11 p.m., a very long day. But yeah, the FIDE World Cup and FIDE Women's World Cup started yesterday. It was day one, round one. There's over 300 players here from all around the world to compete. And I thought I'd use this video to both share some photos of mine and then also share one of the best games played in the first day. So before we get into the game, let me show some photos. This is the first event I've photographed in a long time. I took probably close to 1,000 photos yesterday between all like the high-speed shots, but I'll share some of the more notable ones. I'm pretty sure this is, who is this? Luis Torres? Strong player. This was one of the last games to finish. This is a playing venue. So it's held at this cool kind of space. It kind of seems like a space museum, but it's also just an event venue. Have a very nice big room. There's also, I took this from the stage, so there were players on the stage too. And there's so many players playing, at least in the first couple days, that they had a back room to have more matches as well. And there's a lot of notable players here. If I show, so this is a newly minted grandmaster, youngest grandmaster ever, Abhimanyu Mishra, who's up against Joe Bava in the first round. Joe Bava is a fellow streamer, very strong grandmaster from Georgia, inventor of the Joe Bava London. So I'll just show like a slideshow of photos. Some of these are my favorite shots from the tournament. A lot of like cool chess portraits. I think a lot of people should recognize this person, Nemo. Her real name is Chiyu Zhao. She's playing for Canada. And this is my first time actually meeting her in person. So it's super cool. And she's vlogging the event. I'll probably link below to her YouTube channel because she's doing kind of more raw behind the scene vlog content. But we have a lot of players, I'll admit, that I don't recognize. I do recognize this person, actually. This is a former teammate of mine, Vasif Durabeli, a grandmaster from Azerbaijan. We competed together at Webster University. Yeah, this is Adiban, who I also met for the first time, also has a YouTube channel. So the game I want to show was played by this guy. And let me go back to the game and I'll explain who the players were. Yeah, so the game I want to show was played between Pablo Salinas Herrera, who's pictured here. He's a grandmaster from Chile. And he was playing against another grandmaster, Mads Andersen, from Denmark. And we can see they're pretty close in rating, both above 2,500. And very soon you'll see why this is already probably going to be one of the best games of the tournament. It featured a really cool, I'll probably include this in the YouTube title, but it included a triple queen sacrifice. Now, I don't want to spoil too much more, so I'm going to hide the notation. And it started as kind of a very slow ready opening, which eventually transposed into some kind of English, semi-Slav. I think there's a lot of names we can call this thing. White was delaying d4, which is a fine way of playing. It's not the most active, but eventually they did get kind of a queen's pawn opening, so some kind of queen's gambit semi-Slav. And the resulting position they got after bishop b7, bishop b2 is actually a line that I used to play myself many years ago. And this position gave me some memory of my first time ever playing Levi Rosman in a tournament. And right before I started this recording, I was trying to dig up the game. And I did find it. It was played back in 2012 in Rockville, Maryland. And if you look, we see the opening, a slightly different move order, but we can see it was almost exact same thing. And yeah, we both fianchettoed. So if we go back to the game that was played yesterday, it's pretty much the same line. And the thing about this line, both sides have some flexibility of where to put their rooks in the center. So the difference between my game with Levy and this game is that these players chose slightly different squares for the rook. In my game with Levy, he put his queen on c7, and it eventually followed just a different route. Another thing I'll note, I'll leave a link to the Lichess study. So if you want to analyze this game in more depth, or my game with Levy, link will be below, and feel free to analyze as much as you want. But going back here, they were still following theory. Bishop f1, c5, takes. This has all been played before. And if I just show the opening book, there's been a couple dozen games. And after c takes d4, knight takes d4, at first it looks very pleasant for white because white's playing against this isolated queen's pawn. The pawn blocks the bishop on b7. Now I think a lot of players, even like very strong players, would pick the white side because it's very positional. This pawn on d5 is a long-term weakness. Not to mention there's ideas of knight f5. But the thing is, the position is just very imbalanced, because even though white has a better structure, black has more potential for activity and also more space in the center. With a pawn on d5, black just controls a bit more space, has a half-open c-file with the rook aligned with the white queen, has potential for knight e4. And we're going to see within the next couple moves how quickly black manages to pressure white's position, starting with bishop b4. And it turns out white's queen is just a bit misplaced, because now not only is there a pin on the c-file, but the queen, along with the bishop, are both tied down to the knight on c3, which can't move. So white's under pressure here, not to mention knight e4 is also coming. So white plays somewhat passive move, knight e2, and now knight e4, just increasing pressure. And after a3, which is an attempt to relieve the pressure, black goes for a pretty spectacular combination, starting with knight takes f2. And this is actually a pretty thematic tactic. Whenever you have this double queen-rook battery on the e-file, and you have a knight here, and the f-pawn is only defended by the king, then this is a common way to just go for complete destruction and take advantage of the fact that the e-pawn is going to fall next. So this is where the fireworks really begin. White went ahead and took the bishop on b4. If you take the knight, you probably just regret it after queen takes on e3. If the king moves this way, there is d4 and the bishop on b7 is unleashed. If the king moves this way, I imagine this will end very, very badly for white. Now, I'll admit I didn't do too much analysis, so I'm not entirely sure what the knockout blow here is for black, but maybe we can take a moment and find the best continuation. Oh, is it just queen f3? Queen f3 looks nice. King g1, and then bishop here. Almost checkmate. Something would have to block on d4. If the knight blocks on d4, takes. Yeah, this is just ending immediately. White's about to get mated here. So for that reason, white did not take the knight, took the bishop, but loses a bishop on h3. Plays king f1. And here, if we count material, black is actually the one up a pawn and hasn't sacrificed anything, because white didn't take the knight, which was sacrificed. So black is doing very well here and played what looks to be the most logical move in the position. Queen takes e3, just threatening mate in one. And at first it looks like white's just completely dead. Like, how do you defend the mate threat, along with just the pressure on both open files basically for black. But then white came up with a move which does muddy the water and kind of puts the ball black in black's court, is to play queen f5. Triple purpose move, defending the mate threat, attacking the knight on h3, and attacking the knights on d7. Both knights are undefended for black. And it is a question, what should black do next? So black played knight f6, which looks to just give away the knight on h3. However, if white takes the knight, then maybe this is a good exercise. Black to move and find the winning combination. Feel free to pause the video if you don't see it already. I will say it's maybe not super simple to find, but it's just a matter of finding the forcing moves for black and keeping the initiative going. So the first move is queen f3, forcing king g1, and then knight g4. And it turns out black is completely winning here because the threat is queen f2, king h1, and then d4, unleashing the bishop. And there's really just no good defense for white. If the rook moves to f1, then there's queen e3. The king has to move along the diagonal of the bishop, and d4 will happen, and white's just crumbling, probably just getting mated in a few moves. So knight f6 was a nice option for black because it makes it so white can't take the knight on h3, and black is bringing yet another attacker to try and destroy white on the king side. So white went ahead, played bishop c1, and this is where the real beauty really begins, because for the rest of the game, black sacks a queen pretty much every move. And this is not something that you see every day. So I think we're just gonna sit back and cherish the beauty of what's about to happen. Black goes ahead and plays the amazing knight g4, putting the knight on an undefended square, but also leaving the queen hanging. White cannot take either seemingly free piece because of mate in 1. If the queen is taken, this is a really, really nice checkmate. This is actually a triple fork, but the fork's irrelevant because the king is just dominated by the knights. Not a mating pattern that you see every day. And if the knight's taken, then it's a more kind of traditional in-your-face checkmate with queen f2. So knight g4 was really, really nice. Of course, white realized that the black pieces can't be taken, went ahead and plays rook d3, hitting the queen, trying to win the queen and not get mated. But then black plays another really stellar move, on d4. And this is another kind of, oh no, my queen moment. The queen, it's attacked this time twice by the rook and bishop. If it's taken by either piece, knight h2 is then mate. Just because now the bishop on b7 controls is crucial, g2 square, and the knights do the rest of the dirty work. So it's incredible how well the black, especially the black minor pieces, coordinate in this position, of course, along with the queen and the rook. And it's a common theme of attacking chess, where the best attacks usually involve really good coordination for multiple pieces. And if you're the attacker, you want to get as many pieces involved as possible. So white tried to resist one more move, played rook to d1, trying to give the king a square to retreat. But now we see just a simply spectacular finish. And I'm going to pose a final sequence as an exercise for viewers. This is black to move and mate into by force. Okay, get ready for it. Get ready for it. Queen g1. Oh no, my queen. Oh no, Pablo's queen. And this time, unlike the previous few positions, white is forced to take the queen. It's the only legal move. And now, big respect to Mads Andersen, who can't even be mad about the result in this game, given how beautiful the ending is. He didn't resign. Usually, like when a grandmaster has forced mate, it's typical etiquette to resign. But when the mate is so beautiful, etiquette usually says you should play it out until checkmate, which is what white did in this position. Knight takes g1, and then just a sensational knight takes h2, check and mate. This time the rook is involved. It was very crucial that after the knight takes back, the rook then controls the last getaway square from the white king. And this is game over. And I won't be surprised if this turns out to be like the best game of the whole event, even though we're just one day in, given how many times Black tried to give away the queen, finally did give away the queen, and won in beautiful style. So I really hope you guys enjoyed that. I don't know how many recap videos I'll have time to do just because the schedule's hectic. I'll be taking a lot of photos of like every day. So be sure to keep an eye on the Flickr album. Instagram and Twitter will be the main place that photos are posted. And big congrats once again to Pablo Salinas for a sensational game. I took this photo before the game actually started, so he's looking very serious. But if you watch his interview after the game, he was just full of adrenaline and excitement. So with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.